Good morning and a warm welcome to another episode of Podcast Club at I9 Campus. We are so excited to introduce you to a truly remarkable young individuals today. A dedicated environmentalist whose journey is a real inspiration for young people everywhere. It's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Haniya and Ms. Khushbakht to Pod-ucation at I9 Campus. For listeners who might be new to the topic, can you briefly explain what global warming is and what are the primary drivers, particularly in the context of a growing or developing nation like Pakistan?
So what is global warming? As we had a session with kids as well, so what I usually tell about that is, what is global warming? Global warming is actually fever to the earth. The earth is going through, we are just cutting trees, we are having the factories, a lot of air pollution, water pollution, which is causing the air to heaten up more in the past, and now there is a lot of difference of deforestation, which is causing a lot of carbon dioxide in the environment. The glaciers are melting, the snow is melting, and we are running out of the snow and with a lot of heat. That would be the easiest explanation, I guess.
How does Pakistan's geographical location and unique climate particularly vulnerable to the impacts of global warming compared to other parts of the world?
Pakistan is one of the countries that is most vulnerable to climate change. It is the top 10. It is part of the top 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change. And what we see is that Pakistan has geography that is vastly different in different provinces, right? So you have deserts, you have glaciers, you have different, like all of the seasons. You have mountains, you have different cities and different seasons in those cities and different locations, and they have very specific needs and very specific environmental considerations, right? So one thing that we see, for example, that we also just spoke about in the session as well, is the Gilgit-Baltistan region, which experiences glacial lake outburst flooding. Pakistan has the most glaciers outside of the polar region. What you see is that Pakistan is also facing heat at an extreme level, right? Like we have heat waves every single year now. And then you see that we have, rural centers and urban centers, and there is that difference as well between what climate change looks like in rural areas versus what climate change looks like in urban areas, right? So it's very different for different people, which is why you have different needs of different people, and different communities have very different needs. And to understand those, you need to talk to people, center people, listen to their demands, listen to their grievances, listen to the solutions that they are already implementing in their communities, because they know best, because they are the ones living through it, right? So Pakistan, your question about geography and the specific climatic conditions of Pakistan, I think those are some of the different sort of issues that we face, and I think that Pakistan, because it has all of these different different ethnicities and people of different backgrounds, that our climate issues are also then we have a vast amount of them in all forms. So whether that's flooding, whether that's heat waves, whether that's droughts, whether that's agriculture being affected, crops being affected, I mean, it's endless, right?
We have seen increasing reports of different weather conditions in Pakistan, the heat waves, the floods, and the droughts, and how they are linked to global warming, and what do you think that we should expect from the future?
Climate change is something that is affecting Pakistan, of course, like that I've mentioned already before. And your question is specifically focused on the future as well. And I think that I can't predict the future, but very realistically, it looks very hopeless. And I do not like to be pessimistic, but there is a lot of hopelessness. Because when you look at climate change, this is not a singular problem, right? It is not that climate change is one issue and then social issues are separate, or the wars that are going on in the world are separate from that, or our education is separate, or our rights are separate, right? Climate change is intrinsically linked to all of those issues, and what we see is that it exacerbates those issues, right? Like whether you have social issues, for example, women's rights, children's rights, animal rights, right? Any vulnerable group in a society, when they have a climate disaster happen, or because of climate change, their lives and their problems are exacerbated. Climate change exacerbates the already existing inequality, right? So what the future is for climate change, I think that the future is very difficult, because what we see is that the problems that you see in the world, there's a lot of hopelessness, and I think that However, I still think that there is some hope, because hope is not something that comes from outside, right? Necessarily, it's something that is within us. And as long as within us we know that we are still connected to nature, that we try our best to understand and try to harmonize with nature and understand that she responds, right? Nature and the earth responds. It is not that you can put something out and that it does not come back to you. And so the world and the earth and the people on earth and the animals and species, they hear us whether we know it or not, and they feel us, they feel our existence, right? And so I think that the future is linked deeply with us ourselves, our own souls, what is inside of us. And hope is also linked to that. And as long as we have hope that we keep alive in ourselves through our actions, through our words, that hope will stay alive outside of us as well. And that is the pathway to trying to make this world just a little bit better for the generations that are looking to us, that are not here yet.
Okay, so I would be adding in this question, as you have asked about the future. So what is the future? For example, if we are planting a tree, we won't see a result in just 2-3 days. We would not have the fruits or anything else.
Yeah.
It will take a lot of time to have that impact. So in the past, there have been a lot of events which impacts we are seeing right now. So now we need to stop those, and we have to take some steps which the impact of those actions which will be seen in the future, and we will have the seed that we are growing today.
So what are some of the key steps Pakistan needs to take to mitigate its contribution to global warming? And what are some realistic and achievable goals in this regard?
If we are doing something individually, to be very honest, that would be just a drop in the ocean. But we all at all ends need to take some steps. So what is the drop in the ocean? That would be a very small contribution from our own sides. Like we are just turning off the lights, we're planting some trees, some plants, we're providing them with water and all the nutrients, and we are saving energy, we're moving towards the renewable resources. But at the end, that would not have a long lasting effect. That would be just some 2-3 steps that I myself you are doing, or somebody else here is doing. But the thing is, we have to work more than that. We have to come collectively, and in the form of organizations, in the form of campaigns, and we have to take a stand for this. If we are collectively, first of all, it is started by the awareness. We have to spread the awareness of the things, that what are these things, how these things should be done, and how these things are being done. As Pakistan is even a developing country, but we see there are a lot of organizations that are working as YCAP. But what we need also a collaboration of all these organizations. We need to collaborate, we need to come forward, we need the help of the government as well to stop these all things. What I am doing is the best I can do, but what we can collectively do will have a long lasting effect in the future.
How can individuals and communities in Pakistan contribute to addressing global warming and building resilience at a grassroots level?
Resilience is something that communities are already building, whether we are there to help them or not, right? Like, it is something that has to happen naturally, because it is something that is based on survival. Whether you're climate resilient or not, it is based on your survival, it is based on your livelihood, it is based on your standard of living, right? Because all of us belong to some village or some community that is also being affected by climate change, whether we are aware of it or not, right? Most people who live in urban centers are from villages or have a community somewhere else, right? From other than the urban center that they live in. So how do we build climate resilience? How do we build grassroots initiatives? So Khushbakht already mentioned that we have to collaborate, we have to work together. There's so many people working in silos, but what we do together is much better than what we do separately, right? And then secondly, what already exists within communities, what we need funding, we need resources for those communities, and how they would like those resources to be directed, right? We need to ask them and hear from them about how they want to be helped and if they want to be helped, and listen to them and incorporate that in policy making, incorporate that at the state level, as well as our personal understanding of climate change as activists and as civil society, and just working together and understanding the different needs of people. And Khushbakht, if you have anything.
Yes, I completely agree with Haniya as she has mentioned that at some point we are connected directly or indirectly to the people who are so much unprivileged. So we have to reach them, and first of all, it's again I will say that it starts with the awareness. We have to aware them about what they are doing and what will the impact of those things. What we see in the backward areas of Balochistan and since specifically in Pakistan, that there are the floods, and before the floods there are the warning systems. The warning system warn the people about the floods, and the one we call them owners, landlords, or the concept of vaderas. What they do, they ask other people to build some walls and the systems around their own houses, around their properties. Their property is saved, but what happened to the ones who are already so much unprivileged, who are doing this for daily wage of 1,000 to 1,200? So we need to aware them as well, so that what they are doing to themselves and what will be their impact and how they can save themselves from these issues.
So government needs to play a huge role in this regard.
What is your biggest concern regarding the future impact of global warming in Pakistan, and if a significant action is not taken?
Yeah, so I think that this question, a lot of people ask this generally, and I think that the answer for this has always been very similar for me. I don't think that there's one significant challenge when it comes to climate change. I think that there is multitudes of challenges that Pakistan faces when it comes to climate change, those that I have already mentioned as well as others. And I think the significant challenge is climate change itself. I say this a lot, that climate change is not the disease itself, right? It is a symptom of a disease. And what is the disease? It is unchecked greed, unchecked human greed, unchecked human capitalism, right? Capitalism. So what we see is that when there's no accountability, when there's a few people that hoard wealth in the world, so I'm talking globally, as well as locally, this happens here as well, of course, that a few people have most of the wealth on the planet and the rest of the planet suffers, and what you see is that people that are not creating the CO2 emissions are the ones that are facing the brunt of the climate crisis. So that is the problem, where you have political economic systems that make you dependent as a country, and you have political systems that are not stable, that are not balanced. You have, because of those systems that are in place, those capitalistic systems that are unchecked, and there's no accountability, there's no transparency. The people that are in power, they have a vested interest in keeping climate change very much well and alive, even if there are people that are suffering and dying in the millions and billions. So what you see is that climate change itself is just a symptom. It's just one of the branches of the tree, right? There's so many more issues. And it's a wider systematic issue that has many different branches and many different ways that it is affecting people generally. So what we do is, when I talked about the silos issue as well, what we do is we say, okay, I'm working on climate change and maybe you're working on children's rights, for example, okay? But what we do is we don't understand the intersection of it. We don't understand that when I'm working on climate change, I'm also working for children's rights. And when you're working for children's rights, you are also working for climate change. So there is that intersection, and when you understand that intersection, only then can you work together, and only then can you understand this larger systematic issue and how to make mends and breaks in it.
I would add a point to this, that in my view, the significant issue is itself that we are ignoring this. I can say that nothing is a bigger issue than this. If we are ignoring this, and if we are ignoring the needs of the earth and of the atmosphere, of the climate, then we are already having the issue and we are ruining this all.
Despite the challenges, are you optimistic about Pakistan's ability to address global warming?
So I think that yes, Pakistan can, any country can, right? And there is again the whole conversation on hope that we had, that change can happen. The only thing that we need to do, or not the only thing, but there's different things that we need to do. First of all, the first question is to just take this more seriously, treat it as an existential threat, treat it as an emergency, right? And then other than that is to just have climate be the focus of any policy making that you do, have climate be the focus of any conversation that you have, or of any official state level conversations or speeches or policies or any implementation of those policies, that climate and a human-centric climate approach is necessary, right? At the same time, actually, we need to address the fact that Pakistan cannot do it alone. So, because Pakistan is not the one causing the issue as such, it needs solidarity with other nations. And in my opinion, the best way to go about this is to build solidarity with nations that are also facing climate change and are not getting the treatment or not getting the reparations they should be getting from the West. And that they should build alliances with nations on the basis of climate change, on the basis of climate solidarity, and to bring those countries together to show a united front in front of big powers and nations who are having a free hand in industrializing, in developing their countries, in growing into these powerful nations, whereas our countries are unable to develop as such. And if we now try to do that, they will raise a question on us as to why we are developing our industries or why we are increasing our CO2 emissions when we were not given that space that they were given. So now that they've caused a crisis, they will not let us do that either, right? They will not let us industrialize. So I think solidarity is the biggest pathway to hope and change.
So, what message would you like to leave our listeners in Pakistan regarding the urgency and importance of addressing global warming?
So, what I would say is, for the urgency of working on the global warming, and we have to stop that. For that, we all need to work. We all have to come forward. It would not be solved by just turning off the lights or just switching off the lights. That would not have a solution. That might be reduce our bills for that specific month, might be, but that is not a permanent solution. We need to do more than that. We have to step forward. We have to take the actions. We have to ask the government for our rights, that this is the issue and what are the policies, how we are working on this. We need to hold people accountable who are sitting on those chairs. We have to ask them that you are accountable for that, and we ourselves have to be accountable to ourselves as well. We have to come forward. We have to empower ourselves. Specifically, we have to empower the youth. So we all have to come forward, fight for it, and then we will get a solution. It would not be solved just by switching off the lights.
Being a member of Pakistani nation, I have a question. Like, people, they are mentally preparing themselves for, like, they have hope towards, like, okay, the global warming will someday vanish. But I have saw many people, they say they prepare themselves physically for the worst.
I guess we are facing the worst. Was the climate ever like this as it is in nowadays? No, it was never like this. We are not prepared at all. What will happen if the heat waves are continuously more and more increasing, and they are just at some point we will see further. It is just April and we can see the temperature, the climate, everything, the weather, yes. But what will happen in the May, June, July? What will do? How will we survive? If even we survive this year, what will happen to us in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 or the next decade? What are we going to do then? How are we prepared? We are not prepared at all, and we have to stop this. We have to take a stand. We have to at some point we need to take steps to stop this all.
Thank you, Ms. Haniya, and thank you, Ms. Khushbakht, for joining us today. Hit the like button and share your comments with us. The Podcast Club bids you farewell, and viewers, keep logging in for more exciting episodes.